Shame doesn't just make us feel bad, it changes who we are. It changes how we date, how we show up as parents, how we love, how we trust. Shame is one of the biggest invisible factors still affecting adult relationships to this day. Welcome back. This is part two in the shame series. If you missed part one, there will be a playlist somewhere where you can go back and catch the first module. This is the second module, and we're going to talk about the impact of shame, the religious environments that we grew up in, and how they are currently affecting us right now, even in ways we don't even know. One of the biggest ways that shame affects us in our adulthood, once we've, even when we leave our parents' houses, even when we get on our own, we have this embedded belief of fear based morality versus value based morality. Fear based morals come from religion. They come from church. They come from literal fear mongering. People telling you if you don't do everything correct, you're going to hell. If you don't love the way God wants you to love, if you don't dress the way He wants you to dress, if you don't obey your pastor, even though your pastor not obeying God, you gonna be the one that go to hell. It's this constant fear mongering, constant messaging of if you don't do this, it's a chop. Your life is done. You're going to jail. You're going to hell. There's no way around it. That is fear based logic. That is fear based morals. Value based morals are based in values. Are you a good person? Do you care about your fellow man? Are you an activism of sorts? Are you up on politics and what's affecting your community and your demographic? Do you see all humans as people? Or are you differentiating humans in messed up categories and discriminatory categories? Value based morals are about your values, your personal values as a human being. It doesn't matter what religious rhetoric is forcing you to be a good person. You simply just are a good person. In religion, a lot of times, sex is framed as sinful, as something deceitful, as something you will, if you do it before marriage, or even if you do it in marriage and you don't do the right type of sex, which, oh my God, that was something I experienced from my former cult ass fake pastor. Okay. Literally calling me and leaving me messages. Just want to make sure you're having godly sex, which godly sex was literally nothing but her definition of how people should have sex in marriage. Only missionary, no oral, no kink, no toys, no vibrators. That's ungodly. Is it ungodly or is it just un-you? Because nowhere in my Bible does it say I have to do all that. Religion will just frame sex as dangerous. Like it's this, if you have sex or if you do anything sexual, that's it. You're going to hell. You're going to catch every disease. You're going to get pregnant 6 times in 1 year. All this, again, fear-based morality to try to force you into being their version or religious version of a good person. Your worth is tied to your obedience in that way, and that's where the shame plays a factor. If I don't do what these people tell me is the most godly thing to do, I am therefore in shame and therefore worthless because I don't have the same value as someone who's doing all these purely God things. That is not true. That is a lie. Another way that shame can have an impact if you're not a religious person or you didn't grow up in that subset is definitely your environment and your friends. The schools you go to, the media you ingest, social media, or TV, or whichever, your actual friend groups that you associate with. Shame can also permeate those environments. A while back on socials, it was a big thing to be a part of purity culture. It had nothing to do with religion or faith at all. It was just people who were abstaining from sex in the name of being pure until marriage. This was a big, huge thing, especially on TikTok amongst high school age to early college age kids. Everybody was talking about wearing their rings, suffering for their purity, and just a lot of unnecessary things that to me really rang as really sad and isolating and unnecessary. This type of shame where it's like, well, you're not as good as us if you're not practicing purity culture is also rooted in patriarchy in a lot of ways. A lot of times women or people are presented as less than pure, less valuable, someone you wouldn't want to marry or keep for life because they've been used. In other words, they've already had sex with another person. And that is ridiculous as hell to believe also. Every time you have sex with a new person, it's your first time with that person. You are new. Technically, you are a virgin to that person. They don't know your body yet. So every time you have an experience, it's a new experience. Saying, oh, I've already had sex once, someone has already ruined the experience, is asinine because, again, you don't know what sex is like with that person. You only know what sex is like with the person you had before them. So how can you base that old experience on this new experience with a new body? They're not applicable. That's why body counts and purity culture and all this other shit is stupid. Because every time you have a new relationship with someone, you're building a new bond. You're connecting in a new way that has nothing to do with the old relationship at all. Being in negative environments that force you to be ultimately pure is really damaging you in the long run because it's another form of peer pressure. You're trying to stack up to those around you and try to see who's the purest. And it's elitist, it's patriarchal, and it also devalues us as humans because once we're used, we're not good anymore. All of this is negative rhetoric that really makes it a hard mental space to live in because you're so focused on wanting to be pure and avoiding shame and not wanting to, I don't want to be too sexual. I don't want to be too, overkill. I don't want to be too sexy, too va va voom. I don't want to do all these things. I just want to please the people around me. Because you take on that mindset because of your shame narrative, you then end up in these people pleasing relationships. You end up, if not people pleasing, then avoiding attachment altogether because you're afraid. You're like, I don't want to get in a relationship and do the wrong thing. I'll just stay single. How many people know someone? I definitely know a few people who denied themselves pleasure flat out. Just, I won't experience pleasure at all. I won't go outside. I won't do anything. I'll just be single at home with my Bible. Or if they're not religious, I'll just be single at home, playing a wholesome game or, minding my video game checkers or just playing with attending to my arts and crafts. And I'll never date, even though I'm lonely as hell, even though I'm a 20 something virgin who really wants to explore play in my body with someone else. Even if I'm gay or queer, I'm going to act like I'm not. Even if I really am polyamorous or into kink or whatever, I'm going to avoid that. Even though it's the only thing I think about and dream about, even though my whole my whole porn search engine is nothing but that, I'm going to act like I don't know nothing about that at all, in the name of being pure, because I don't want the shame for admitting this is who I actually am. you end up in this you end up in this place where you're incapable of receiving love, even the love that you deserve, because your fear and shame has circumvented the idea that you could even have love and be accepted and wanted for who you are. Again, if you have these narratives from childhood, like we talked about in module 1, you assume that bad equals worthless, that if you're not an overall good person, then you're not worth anything. So then you say, I'm not worth having a relationship at all, so you don't have one. A lot of times when people have this huge level of shame within them where they just refuse to even make a move, it becomes a fight or flight response. You are freezing or you're fawning and making yourself this little baby thing, and I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to live, because in reality, what you really want to do scares you. So you freeze and you don't make a move at all. It's so isolating, and it's something that even when nothing is said to you, you by autopilot lean into, because shame is stored in your body. Shame is stored in the body. It's something that is embedded into us, like that programming, that narrative. Sometimes you'll feel your palms get sweaty or you get butterflies in your stomach. You're like, oh, this doesn't feel like a right move. And it's not that the move is incorrect, it's that you're afraid of what will happen if you make the move because of your shame. Your shame is giving you an anxious body response where you're so afraid to do what you love for fear of judgment, for fear of condemnation to hell, for fear of not being pure enough, for fear of not being good enough for a man or for marriage or for whatever, that you just don't do nothing, that you just sit there and freeze and refuse to even accept any type of love at all. And that is even worse than just being in shame and trying to move through life. Now you're rejecting what life is giving you as if you don't deserve it. So, my question and activity, I guess, for you in module 2 is to do a body check. Just do a deep breathing body check. Just sit with yourself and breathe. And when you think about shame, when you think about your existence, notice what parts of your body flare up in that moment. Does your head start to spin or you get racing thoughts? Again, like I said earlier, do your palms sweat? Do you feel nervousness in your stomach? Where does shame live for you? In your mind, in your throat, in your chest, in your belly? Do you get nauseous when you try to be yourself or believe that you're worth it outside of shame? Where does shame live in your body? Do a body check and really assess with yourself. If shame lives in your head, try to do some meditation and give yourself some affirmations. If shame lives in your throat, there's something you need to speak about that you ain't saying. You either need to write it down in a journal, record a video of yourself saying it, whatever, but you need to get those words out. If shame is living in your chest, you have a heartbreak, possibly, or some type of disappointment within yourself that you need to address. And if it's living in your stomach, then it's a core value belief that you just are afraid of being yourself. You don't have the inner strength to be you. But don't worry, you'll find it. I'll see you in module 3.